Talking about the aging population, you kind of see why healthcare is such a darling trait now when it comes to investors.
No, absolutely. So China, as we know, we have the 1.3 billion patient population base. And from the patient base-wise, take cancer, for example. We have the largest cancer burden. Every year, 700,000 newly diagnosed cancer patients, lung cancer patients. And as the chart point out perfectly, the Chinese population is aging. So therefore, it's a large burden. And China has a healthcare system in which government is the largest payer. Private health insurance hasn't kicked in yet. So therefore, the government in the background is trying to push for a big healthcare reform. The goal is to really help the patients access the drugs they should use. And secondly, is to prevent the disease.
Right, and a lot of that comes down to this big story we've had this year from last year, drug prices coming down, generics as well. What's the latest there, and what are your expectations for drug prices?
Yeah, so a national tender opened 2 days ago. It's always the most dramatic catalyst day for the industry.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised by the price cut because this fits into the broader healthcare reform. Government needs to shift spending from old drugs to upcoming innovative new drugs. If we do an analysis to compare a drug life cycle in a global market versus in China, you would see in US, for example, for a new drug, after the patent expires, the price erosion happens quickly. But in China, it's different, and that's exactly what the chart is about. The drug keeps climbing up. This is fundamentally because the healthcare system design is different. So government wants to fix this because, as you can see, a lot of spending is in the older drugs. So therefore, government is pushing for this new procurement scheme in which government puts volume on the table. For the drug companies to bid. But the companies has to be qualified after passing the quality consistency evaluation. And looking at the drug cost for generic small molecules is very simple. It's basically formulation cost and also the active pharmaceutical ingredient. Before the bidding, we did analysis for quite a few of the 25 molecules open for tender. We saw that because historically the price in China is quite high, despite last year's price cut, we still see about 30 to 60% gross margin. And it's such a free competition, so we wouldn't be surprised that for the drugs with a lot of companies qualified, the price came down.
He Shan, Tom here in Beijing. You're right to point out that, of course, drug prices here traditionally versus those outside of China have been very high. Is there further chance here that the regulators are going to cut prices even further? What does that mean for competition between domestic companies and also their foreign rivals? And some of the foreign drug makers have talked about their optimism about the speeding up of drug approvals here as well. So that's another factor that has to be weighed up.
Exactly. So as I mentioned, in the background, government wants to push for healthcare spending to move drugs from old drugs and low efficacy drugs to innovative new drugs. So government is changing how to introduce new drugs into the system dramatically differently. Actually, this is benefiting both multinational innovative drug companies and also domestic innovative drug companies at the same time. This is done by improving the approval process and then also accelerating the reimbursement process. I think another exciting day for the industry is later this year. Government will open the updated national reimbursement drug list. We foresee quite a few innovative new drugs from both multinational and Chinese companies will be on that list.
So which of the companies that you cover are best positioned given all of these changes?
The framework, I take a look at drug companies. They have a big portfolio because the reform, different drugs are going through different changes of their life cycle curve. So I always like companies, who manage their portfolio very carefully. Right now in the market, the large ones, our portfolio is heavily concentrated in the older generic drugs. So therefore, I like the companies who have prepared a long time ago and accelerate the introduction of innovative new drugs. But the companies, after my analysis showing they are not doing a good job, they will suffer. And the more exciting thing is there's an upcoming generation. They are the pre-profit biotech, despite they don't have revenue yet. But they have been gaining up their capability to introduce new drugs. They are very well positioned. So as I said, within my coverage, I'm the counter consensus for Sino Biopharm.
Yeah.
The price dropped by 9% the day when the bidding opened. It recovered, but then dropped again. This is fundamentally because my analysis showed that their portfolio was too concentrated in two products, and these two products were hit big time by the volume-based procurement. But there are also innovative drugs, which are doing, for example, BeiGene is my top pick. They are dedicated for discovering new cancer drugs. But again, innovative drugs, they are pre-profit, so the company needs to establish credibility and confidence in the investor side.
Okay, last question, quick one. Where do you see the most opportunity? Is it still big pharma? Is it still biotech, biosimilars? What do you say?
So China healthcare industry right now is very exciting because as government is trying to accelerate innovation, the whole ecosystem is different. My theme for the industry is converting from one drug company doing R&D to the ecosystem doing R&D. So therefore, the investment scope is beyond drug companies. There can be CROs, biologic CDMOs. That's why within my coverage, I have a company called Wuxi Biologics. So I think in the long run, my theme for the sector is any company which is well positioned for bring innovative new drugs at an affordable price to the society will benefit big time.